3. Number 2 comes from number 1, probably, because it's talking about parallel lines theorem. And it's kind of like, hey, since B is parallel to E and E is parallel to F, what do you know about all 3 lines?
They are they're parallel.
Yeah, so they're all parallel, which means that we should start with looking for something that's parallel. So you're looking for the parallel symbol. Looks like there it is, D parallel to F. Okay, now, like the answer to 3 leads to 4. So 4 says that the 2 angles have the same measure. Before you say 2 things have the same measure, what do you say about the angles?
They are congruent.
Yes. So angle 2 is congruent. Actually, I should check that that's actually on there, and it is. All right. Now, what could it be that allows those angles to be congruent? And if you're not sure, you go to your reasoning bank, and it's either A, C, F, or I, because those are the only ones that are words. A, C, F, or I.
I'll uh, definition of congruent angles.
Nope.
Nope.
What makes them congruent in this drawing? 2 lines cut by a
Uh,
transversal. It's like there's like 4 things that it could be.
um,
So let me come down here. So like they could be corresponding, alternate interior, alternate exterior, same side, interior slash exterior. Okay. But the first 3 are for congruence. So if you go back to your picture, where do 1 and 2 reside?
alternate interior.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Now, what you said earlier is the reasoning for 4. If the angles are congruent, then they have the same measure. That's the definition of congruent angles.
Yeah.
Okay. So now 5 goes back to another given. So you kind of just check the boxes. Well, which ones did I already use? So I use those. So it must be measure of angle 2 equals 55 degrees. That takes care of that. Now, I like the resource bank, reasons bank, because there's only a couple of options here that it can be. It's either E or H is down here. And you actually should know because it's the proof statement. Always goes in the last
Yeah.
position.
H.
So that would be the measure of angle 1 equals 55 degrees. So even if you're not sure, you know, about some of them, try to get the ones that you know are have to be right. The proof statement always goes in the last position.
Yeah.
All right. And then, what could be the reason? Well, it's either alternate exterior angles theorem or it's transitive property of equality.
I I think it's transitive property.
It is, yes. And the reason it is because they're saying angle 2 equals 55, since angle 1 equals angle 2 and measure of angle 2 equals measure of angle 1, therefore measure of angle 1 must equal also 55.
All right.
So what about this do you feel like you cannot do on your own at this point?
Um, I think it's the reasons I have trouble um with the just like getting across what is like it's hard to describe why the statements are the statements, and I get confused with maybe it's this one. Uh, I'm even bad at explaining things, but the reasons are they're hard to do for me at least.
Yeah, well, you're not alone. Every student in the class, just struggles. Are you seeing the patterns though of like not always, but a lot of times something leads to the next thing?
Yeah,
3 is an independent step. Like 3 is from this previous one, but it kind of doesn't like there's a lot of things that could come from 2. The fact that the lines are parallel, but it happens to be this one, but that leads to something. This right here, definition of congruent angles, that always comes from a congruent statement to a same measure statement.
yeah,
Does that make sense? Like you're always going to use this one when you say that 2 angles are equal, same measure.
yeah.
Okay. Um, all right. So you don't have anything else that you need to work on.
No,
Okay. I'm looking for some now. Um, something that we can do that's kind of more fill in the blank-ish. Uh, we'll see if I can find anything. Any proofs? Okay, those aren't helpful. Oh boy. I'm struggling here to find something that is not too complicated. Do you know if it'll be this format on your test where it's more of the drop down, fill in the blank, or will it be a start from scratch?
It's probably it'll have a word bank thing.
The problem with the ones I'm gonna give you is that they're not gonna have a word. It is nice. It's really nice to have that. Give me just a little bit more time here to try to find something that makes sense. Oh boy. Okay. I'm not finding what I want, so let me go and look for some other students. They're working on stuff like you're working on and see if I can find anything here that's related. So here is something from another student that we can look at here together. This one's labeled kind of awkwardly because it's forget out these 15s, like it's the teacher numbered them like that. So given at the top here, given at the top, measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 7 equals 180. Prove that the lines are parallel. Okay. So tell me what goes in the first position here for the reason
Given.
given. Okay. Now, this next one is independent of the previous one. And you don't know that, but like that's your kind of your thinking when you're doing these proofs. Either it leads like it comes from the previous one or it's independent. When you're doing marching band, you probably have moves where it's based on the previous one and then you kind of reset into something else maybe. I'm not sure. But this one is definitely independent. You almost just want to look, okay, 4 and 6, what kind of angles are they?
They are congruent. They are
But why? But
alternate
why?
alternate exterior. Yeah. Alternate exterior.
But
Or
here's 4 and here's 6.
yeah.
Like to me, they look not to be, they have nothing to do with the parallel lines. They meet at they're sort of like off on their own.
They
Like
are
they meet at an
congruent.
X.
But vertical angles.
Yes, there we go. That's a good one.
As searching through my vocabulary, I'm like, which means what? You know.
And it'll be a lot easier when you have this, uh, when you're it'll be a lot easier when you have that brain bank. This one and this next one is actually one from the previous proof that we did. There's the same sort of.
Okay. Definition of vertical angles or
Nope. Nope. Go back. It's in the
oh,
previous
okay.
proof we did. Yeah. think
Is
about what this line is and this line is, like this one leads to this.
congruence,
Definition
congruency,
of congruent what?
congruency, congruent
Nope.
angles.
Yes, there you go.
Yes.
All right, there you go. That's good. Okay. All right, now angle 6 and angle 7 add up to 180 degrees. Okay. Now, how do we know that? We don't know that they're parallel. We just know that this happens. So what you can't say here is, well, they're same side interior. You can't do that. But you can go back and look and be like, oh, maybe an earlier line or lines feed into this. How do those two lines potentially feed into that?
M equals 4 plus M equal or
Measure of
measure of
angle
angle.
4.
Yeah, measure of angle 4 and measure of angle 7 equal 180. And measure of angle 4 is congruent to measure of angle 6. So measure of angle 6 plus
So
measure of angle 7
yeah,
is,
so
how do I say that with a
yeah,
word?
like what's going on? Like which one are you starting with?
Um, the the first one.
Okay, and the second one is, you've heard me use this R word many times, replacing,
Oh, substitution.
substitution, yeah. Now it'll be easier when you've got that word bank.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I don't necessarily agree with this last one, but what 6 and 7 is that they're same side interior. Same side interior are congruent when they're congruent when they're parallel. Since they're not parallel, um, yet we can't say that. It's kind of like going backwards. So actually, this is a converse proof, but they don't seem to put it that way. Um, I'm not really sure what goes here, but something to do with parallel lines. Definition of same side interior is what those angles are.
Okay.
Thoughts on that?
Uh, no.
All right. This one's a little bit tougher to do, but I think you could get something like this on your test. Can't just do proofs the whole time. It's a little overwhelming. All right. So
There's a lot.
yeah, a
That's
lot
a
of
lot of
lines there.
numbers.
Yes. I know this will be easier when you have this in front of you. So what I'll do to help here is I will circle them each time. So 8. Let's see what we've got here. 8 and 19 are right there. Boom. Um, and then let me give you the word bank here. There's kind of your word bank, what them could be. It might help. My hint here is to remove line M from your visual.
Okay.
Might help.
It looks like alternate interior.
They are. That's correct. Okay, let's look at another one here. I'll do this in a different color. And you'll find that trying to remove a line is really the best way to sort of figure out what these are. Sometimes this one doesn't require you to remove a line.
Uh, Corresponding angles.
Yes.
That looks, yeah.
This is kind of like your word bank because um you will get a couple, or once you whittle it down, the next ones are a little bit easier to do. So let's do a couple more here. So there's this one, angle 6 and angle 7. Where's the next one?
Same side interior. Is that
Yes.
is that what consecutive is a synonym of?
Good. They're consecutive interior, same side interior.
Okay.
Now 4 and 23. Here's 4, here's 23.
Consecutive exterior angles.
Are not consecutive.
Wait.
They would be on the
Oh wait.
same side if they were like 3 and 23
Oh wait.
are that.
Okay. Alternate exterior.
Okay, I agree. All right, let's see what else I've got in my piggy bank of questions here. Always curious if it's ever helped. Like if you've ever, like you get some problems and you're like, oh yeah, I seen that one before. All right, then there's that. There's that. Okay. Okay. Please tell me if we've done a problem like this yet. Because well, I actually don't think we have. I'm pretty sure we have not done. Have I put this problem in front of you before?
I don't recognize it.
Okay. It says if D is the midpoint of CE, that means D is in the middle. They're giving you an equation for C to D and an equation for D to E. They want you to find CE. So to do this, I would make it, I would draw CE as some sort of a line segment, put D in the middle, and then label CD 9x minus 7 and label DE 3x plus 17.
All right. So they add together.
So what I'm looking for, just to be clear here, is something like this. And then the next thing is to label them 9x minus 7 and 3x plus 17. Now, if D is truly the midpoint, what does that mean about CD and DE if it's the midpoint?
They are equal.
They're congruent, yeah. Which means they have the same measure, which means you can set the equations equal to each other. So rather than finding CE, which we will get to, I want you to solve for X by setting the two
Okay.
equations equal to each other.
Uh, 4. X equals 4.
Okay, let's see if that is correct here. To see if it's correct, I want you to put 4 in for X in this one on the left. And then similarly, I want you to put it on the right. If X is really 4, then these will be the same number.
All right. They both equal 29.
Now, if we
So
go back to the original question, it says to find CE. How can we use those answers to find CE?
we could add them. Add.
Yes,
Uh,
yes,
yeah.
very good.
58. Yeah.
All right, so let's look at, we're going to kind of go back and forth here between sort of some definitions and some actual solving of some problems. It says to classify the relationship between angles 1 and 2. These are 4 separate problems. It's like, what kind of angles are these? What kind of angles are these? And so on. And you don't have to give me, well, let's just see, do any of these stand out to you? You're like, oh, I know the name for for any of these 4.
The first one is vertical angles.
Good. And what do you know about vertical angles?
Congruent
Sorry about that.
equal.
Okay. Yes. What about the next one?
Uh, that would be supplementary.
What do you know about supplementary angles?
They add up to 180.
They sure do. All right. How about the next one?
Also supplementary angles.
So the correct they do add up to 180, but the differences between the ones on the left and ones on the right is that when they share a vertex, it's called a linear pair.
Oh,
But yes, they add to 180.
yeah.
All right, how about angles 1 and 2 in the fourth one? What do you notice about those?
Is they've been bisected, I think.
Nope.
Yeah.
What is that? What about that rectangle? It's that rectangle there. What does that mean?
That's
Or square, sorry.
it's a right angle 90 degrees.
Okay, so right angle, we use the word complementary. What does it add to?
90.
Yes. Right. Okay. So these angle relationships help us in solving the following problems. Notice you're either going to set equal or they add to something.
That would be equal.
Okay, so set them equal and I want you to solve for x.
All right. 17.
X equals
Yeah.
17. Now here's how we can verify it's correct. We're going to put it back in to both of these. So could you do that for us and see if it's the same number? And this is a good test taking strategy if you have time.
Both 131.
Now, sometimes they ask you to solve for x. Sometimes they want the angle measure. You have to be able to do both. Okay, so 7 refers to these 4 again, if I can bring down if we need, but I want you to tell me what type of angle relationship these two are.
Supplementary
Okay, so they
linear
do add up to
pairs.
180, but they don't necessarily that's not the best answer. You know, you've heard that, like choose the most correct answer. Because they fall in a straight line, that's a linear pair.
Yeah.
That's the best answer. So what do they add up to?
They add up to 180.
Okay. So we're going to write that out. 7x plus 23 plus 21x minus 11 equals 180. Would you go ahead and solve that for x, please?
Sure. That'd be 6.
6. So the check is this time, not that they're equal, but that when you calculate each of these, 21 times 6 minus 11, that these will add up to 180. So 21 times 6 is 126 minus 11 is 115 degrees. Do these add to 180?
They do.
They do. So that's your check. That's your check. So I'm going to put up a couple of more problems here for you to think about if you want to. These add to 90. These add to 180. I don't have the answers, but you can probably figure them out if you really need to. So we'll call that good for today. Please try to have something for us on Wednesday because